Hello everyone. This is a video tutorial that I'm preparing to show how to add the data from granulometry. That is one of our new parameters. So what we need is our granulometry sample. So I'm going to show you here. This is the form that we use in May 16 in Black Dog Cove. And in another tutorial, I explained how to add the beach profile data, but in this, we're gonna focus only in granulometry. And this is why I also took a picture on our granulometry samples so that you can see here, that we have these small containers. So in this case, for this profile, the south profile, we took 3 different samples because was not a big change in the sediment. Remember that if we have a change in the sediment, we need to take more samples, but in this case was almost the same sand. The only difference that you can see, and I'm going to show you later some pictures, is that we have a bit more of organic matter here because this was in the vegetation. And here is our car. Remember that with this car is how we can identify first the size from mud or very fine sand in this case, 2 boulders, and the selection, how well selected is the sediment, especially in terms of sizes and in terms of shapes. And this is the shape, how pointy, how angular, how many corners it has the sand. It is something that is not easy to identify for someone that is not familiar with this method. So what I did is that I have here some pictures of these samples. So how I name the files is that we took the samples in at the beginning of the profile, meter 1, and at the end of the profile, meter 31, and just in the middle of the profile. So it was in the meter 15. So if we go back here to the form, we can see that we only add information about the granulometry in these 3 points. This is the result, but because most of the sand was wet, this is why we use these containers. We took the sand into these containers and we bring them, brought to home until it was dry. And when it was dried, we make the analysis to know what was the what was the size, the sort, and the shape. Here with the size is not too difficult to see. However, I will show you the pictures so that you can see closer. Remember that this is the gray method, that you just take a picture with the macro lens in your phone. So it has the big advantage that once that you have the picture, you can just zoom in and will be easier to identify things. So you can see first, as I told you, it's just very, very fine sand. It goes into the category of mud. It's even mud. This is not really mud. According with the composition of the grains, this is sand, but it's very, very fine sand, less than 1 millimeter. So the other thing that we can see here is that the size is almost the same. There are not big difference. There are some particles that are some grain that are quite bigger, but in general terms, all of them is quite well selected. Not perfectly, but well selected. So if we go back here to this, remember that we have from very poor selection to very good selection. In this case, I was thinking that it was well selected. So this is why I include here WS, well selected, because, small space to add, but WS means well selected. And also about the shape, this is quite more difficult in this sample because it's too small. When you have gravel or you have cobbles, it's a lot easier because you can see them. In this case, quite more difficult because they're too small. But in general terms, we can see that most of them are square, or like not really a circle. They are not really like small balls, the spheres, but they are quite square. They are not like a triangle. They are not. There are some like this one that maybe we can see that is quite shaped, but this is not the common. Most of them are more, like a square. So this is why we choose here rounded. Rounded is here, that is rounded means it's not well rounded. It's not like a circle, like a sphere, but it's quite, like a square. It's not angular. Angular means with this, it's pointy. So this is, at the end, this is smooth size. The sword is well selected and the shape is rounded. But let's go to the, if we go to the other, this is the 15. This was just in the middle. This is, that the dry sand, but it's easier if we instead of having like a mountain of sand, a small mountain, of course, it's better if you just spare the sand, so it will be easier to analyze. So here, look at that. This is a better picture than the last one. We can see here, this, we go a little further, this here. We can see that first, the size is exactly the same. This is not easy to, difficult, sorry, to identify. It's small, so it's fine sand, like mud. Also about the selection, it's quite well selected. As you can see, it's almost, the same size in this case. Again, if you go to a beach like Larry River, that we were there with the Cold Valley Bay with the student, there are totally different pattern about sediments. There we have boulders, we have also gravel, and we have sand. But in this case, in Black Dog Cove was only sand. So it's quite more difficult to identify. But again, this is the picture. And we're going to say that it's well selected, not very well selected. There are still some particles that are quite bigger than others, but most of them are the same. And is almost the same also that there are some pointy, uh, grains, but most of them are like squares or like circles. So if we go here to the 15, so here 15, size is smooth or fine sand, well selected and rounded, similar to the previous one, and it makes sense. As I mentioned before, we only took 3 samples because it's quite similar, the sediment in this beach. We don't have big transition. So the last one was the 31. So let's see this picture. So here we have the 31. Here 2006 May 16. This is how I like to name files, so it's easy to understand what's in the files without opening it. Black Dog Cove, grain sample, south, because this is the profile south, 31. So now if we go to the zooming, here we can see this a bit different than the previous one. It's still very fine sand, still mud. I will just move here just that we can see it's still mud. But it's medium selected because now here we can see more grains that are, here there's a big grain, here's another one. Here we have this, this grain is, maybe we can go a bit, give me a second, I will try to zoom in. Okay, please help me. Okay, I can zoom in here. This is quite good picture. This is a fragment of a shell. In this beach, it's very common that we have snails, mainly snails, also some clams, especially snails. So these are the shell of one of these thousand of snails that we have there, sea snails. So this is why it's medium selected and also some rounded, because also we can see here, this is one angular sediment, here grain, here's another one. Even this shell, here we can see another one that is, most of them are rounded, but we have some angular ones. So this is why instead to choose rounded as before, I selected some rounded. So is that most of them are rounded, but there are some angular. And this is why it's also moderate selected, because not all of them are the same. So now that we analyze our sample, now we can go to our platform again. So the first is that we're going to start here, the title. So the title will be Black Off. This is the profile sub. And again, we can add the date or the month. The site is Black Dog Cove, community, Little Dover. Municipality is automatic. In the future, the community will be also automatic for beaches. Survey information. If we go here to our form, it was the May 16. So let's go to May 16. Survey time, it was at 2:30 p.m. Here, 2:30. In this case, the author is by default the organization. If we want to add any organization different than ESCOM, and additional authors, in this case, here we have the scientist name was Colin and Charlie. So we need to search for them. So Colin is here. We can try to find Charlie. In this case, Charlie is not here. So we cannot include him, but we could include him here in the general observation. Charlie, Ryan, helping the survey. And in this particular case, we didn't include it in the form, but I was I was doing the analysis, so I should include also my name here. Oh, it's not my name here. Okay. Okay, it's like that. CM. This is my user, because I'm the admin. This is why I have this strange thing. But this is just particular thing. But in general terms, it's important not only who was on the beach, but also who took the sample. We could also, a good recommendation will be that here in the observation, you can add if a different person was taking the sample for granulometry than for the beach profile, or was doing the analysis, as was my case here with these samples, we can add here in our form, in our printed form. And yeah, remember that it's so important that we keep these printed forms, because if in the future something happened with our online platform and something happened, we don't want, and we have some backups, but if something happened at the end, some hacker or something with our data, we don't want to lose all our data. So this is why now we are also having our backup printed, so that we have digital and printed. But okay, let's go here, granulometry samples. So segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3. And you can see here is just the segment that we have here, 1, 2, and 3, and we can add more segments. So grain select, it was smooth. Grain sorting, well selected. And grain shape was rounded. In the future, we are doing some changes. Here will be also the that you can add the meter in which you take. So the 115. Now we don't have that, but we're gonna add that. So segment 2, that in the number segment 15, mod well selected rounded. Rounded. Okay. On the next segment here, last one. Okay, mod medium selected, some rounded. Moderately selected, some rounded. Okay. If we had more, we can add here. We can add as many as we want, but we don't need it. We just need to delete it. The observation, specific observation, we don't have many observations, especially for this granulometry. We had some observation related to the beach profile, sunny and windy. Maybe we can add that it was windy, and we can add that we here windy and samples were taken to home for drying. And I was drying for 5 days, just with the eating. I didn't do anything special. I just opened these. I'm gonna show you. I just opened these containers very carefully. I don't want to mix the sand, but just open these containers and I just wait. With the heating, in 5 days it was totally dry, and I was able to I was able to do the analysis. Maybe we can say also here that analysis was conducted with a macro lens, and we can hear that the 3 pictures of samples are in Camille's record. Just to remember that I have this. Okay, here Grammarly suggests me the 3 samples picture. No, I think this was a mistake. The 3 pictures of samples are in Camille's record. Good. And that's all. One that we have here, again, we can save as a draft, or if we consider that everything is fine, we just submit for review. And once that we submit for review, will be that pending. So now I will need to go to the granulometry, and we can see here there is not there. This is the first one that we're going to have. We don't have any entries now. This is the first one. So now what I'm going to do is that I will approve this and this sample. So give me a second and entry again to my account as an admin. And to give me some seconds, so in the other screen, I'm just logging to my admin account. We have this approval step just to avoid that, for example, especially that bot, some hacker or someone wants to just make trouble to us. This is why we have this pending review. Also, if maybe someone sent by mistake the form, or if we just want to give some feedback. So this is why we have this review process. Now I'm the only one who is doing this review. It's a lot of load for me now, but the idea that in the future we have some research assistant that will help me with this part. So let's go again to the granulometry. So look at that. Now we have one entry. Now it's approved. So if we go to Black Dog Cove, now we can see this entry. We go to view data. And okay, these are our results. Okay, in our segments we have mod, you can see here mod. This was how was sorted, well selected, one another moderately selected, and the shape was rounded and sub-rounded. So this is these are our results. This is our graph. So the idea is in the future we're going to have the same graph for different profile for different months, and we can start doing analysis. But for now, what is important is that we can add our data related with a granulometry, so you can start doing just in the next survey. So I hope these have been interesting for you, and that is helpful for your future analysis in your beaches. So I will be just waiting for see many beaches with granulometry. I think it will be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching this recording and this video tutorial.